Big game here in Columbia, South Carolina, as the Gamecocks take on the Florida Gators at Williams-Brice Stadium. Now, Brian, the Gamecocks have to win the next 3 games to become bowl eligible. So what are going to be the keys for them to win this weekend?
Well, bowl eligibility is going to be a tall task for the Gamecocks coming up the rest of this season. But in regards to this week's game against Florida, I think the big thing is going to have to be to get Brandon Wiles the ball. He's been the guy who's demanding the ball week in and week out, and it's paid dividends as we've seen the last couple of games. He scored a few touchdowns, over 100 yards in a couple of these games. Got to get him the ball because Perry Orth has been suspect to make big mistakes in big-time situations. Give Brandon Wiles the ball in some of these big spots, and it alleviates the passing game big time. And, take away a Jarrell Adams fumble, potentially we're talking about a totally different story. But I think it starts with the running game, open up some options for Orth in the passing game.
And speaking of the running game, you got to take into account Florida's defense. They have one of the top pass rushing defense in the country for tackles for loss. They're ranked number 19 with 44 tackles for the season. So they average 9 a game. So the offensive line will definitely have their hands full, and they got to make sure they stay on top of their game to make sure they keep the lanes open so Brandon Wiles and the running backs can move down the field.
Well, absolutely. And one thing that doesn't necessarily have to do with the play, but an intangible key to this game has to be the fans and the atmosphere at Williams-Brice Stadium. You and I have been in the last 2 places in Texas A&M and Tennessee, and those fans were rabid. And South Carolina knows what those atmospheres were like the last 2 weeks. You got to think that they want the same kind of atmosphere at Williams-Brice this Saturday. However, South Carolina only has 3 wins. A noon game might be a little difficult to get those fans coming in, so might not be the same atmosphere that everyone is sort of become accustomed to at the stadium, but you have to come in there, you have to cheer, and those Gamecocks, hopefully you would think, would feed off of that emotion at the stadium this Saturday.
Well, with that being said, you also got to take into account that the energy level has just been totally different since
absolutely.
The midway point in the season. Before Steve Spurrier left, the team just didn't look like they were going to fight back as much as they have been the last couple of weeks. They've lost the last couple of games just by nail-biters at the end, just a turnover away from winning a game. So I think that the fans have really rallied around the team around this time. I think the energy is going to be high level, even though it's going to be a noon game. I think the team and the fans are going to be ready for the game to be played at Williams-Brice Stadium on Saturday in Columbia at noon. Should be a good one. Make sure that you follow us on Twitter at CCS on SGTV and like us on Facebook, and we'll have your highlights there later on this week.